No, Squee, it's just all the butter from these crabs. Hey guys, Nerdcore here, and today we're going to take a look at a deck I affectionately call King Camerid. This is a deck from a streamer and friend of mine, CurreyanKing, who will be linked down below in the description. Basically what this deck is kind of an Annihilation deck that uses Spawning Bed in order to spawn a bunch of crabs and then sacrifice them to kill things around you for free. So let's go ahead and dive in for a quick look. Now I wanted to start out with a discussion of what the deck is and how it works, so you guys are on the same page as we go into the equipment and such. So Spawning Bed is the key card here. Summons 5 0/2 Camerid eggs, which is pretty good on its own because they're just basically targets. Now after you cast 2 sorceries, any eggs that survive at that point create up to 5 1/1 Camerids. Now what's cool about these is that they do not count as tokens, they are full creatures, and the eggs are then revived by Whip of Erebos, as well as the Camerids themselves can be revived by Whip as well. This obviously leads to a couple interesting interactions throughout the deck, specifically with Annihilation, giving you a near limitless stream of creatures to just kind of pop off to the Annihilation trigger, giving you a lot of damage out on the field real quick. I have a couple of supporting cards involved here. Obviously, Alchemic Thaumaturge is pretty important for any kind of deck like this because of the reduction of cost, Thought Cadence for its obvious advantages and abilities, and then the ones that kind of look a little weird are Psychic Barrier, because this allows you to keep the eggs around to actually be hatched, as well as individual creatures so that they can actually be sacrificed to Annihilation. The nice part about this is that since it's an enchantment and not a buff, it actually does hang around for after they come back with Annihilation, meaning that they can keep alive a little bit longer from incoming damage. The other goofy one is Dark Gamble. This is a little bit different because we're using this in place of Giant Growth. There's a green-blue version of this deck. I didn't like it though because there's no way to get rid of the Camerids after you've summoned them. So I decided that this was my favorite version of the deck because it doesn't cause the game to lag out. So this spell gives you a lot of greater mana regeneration for a pretty long time and allows you to cast pretty frequently without any consideration of whether or not you're going to do anything, as long as you can draw via your Thought Cadence. Now the downside is you are discarding a random spell, so you want to make sure that you do not have Spawning Bed in your hand when you cast this, just so that you can keep those spells coming. The focus with the equipment and artifacts is actually on spark recharge speed rather than any other stat or generating extra tokens, because that helps you activate Mana Surge, which powers our main item, the Wrist-Wraps of Calamity. Now whenever you activate Mana Surge, this gives your highest power creature +1/+0 per creature you control for 5 seconds, which leads to some pretty silly effects because you can get upwards of 30 to 60 Camerids during this deck's play, meaning that you suddenly have a 61 plus creature on the field, making Annihilate hit pretty dang hard, and actually effectively doubling the presence of each creature on the board. Additionally, things like Educator's Diadem give you constant spark recharge, allowing you to keep uptime on Mana Surge, as well as the Raw on Amulet of Nightmares, and the lesser mana regen that's just available in Attire of the Dark Wanderer, aka the best equipment in the game. So as mentioned earlier, Whip of Erebos is the primary artifact we are looking to use here. Please get it up to rank 20, as rank 20 gives 85% of max hit points and lifelink for each one of the creatures as they come back, which is pretty handy to keep yourself alive. Now additionally, this does, as mentioned before, affect the eggs and allow them to cycle frequently, so you will want this in order to get your creatures to hang around and be sacrificed multiple times to Annihilate. Now on the greater ranks, we do have Cursed Idol for the greater vulnerability to all nearby foes, which softens them up for Annihilate, and as well as the Black Mana Sorcery potency to make your Black Mana spells much stronger, and Suffocating Curiosity in order to just give yourself a little bit of extra damage in the melee range. Now, that being said, you can optionally also use Demonic Contract in this slot. I kind of actually lean towards this sometimes, the reason being that it is pretty effective at healing you, and you can get overwhelmed if you're not in the center of your caryatids at all times, so this can be handy to prevent some heartbreaking losses. Now on the lessers, it's not really relevant which ones you're using, in so much as it is that they all have Spark Recharge and either Black Mana or Blue Mana potency for either the sorcery, or in the case of black creatures is also alright. So in my case, I'm using Demonic Aperture, Scroll of Bantu, and Shard of Power to provide that potency as well as Spark Recharge on all 3 items. As far as class choices, I've actually really liked Sanctifier for this because it allows for, after the first Annihilate goes off, to hang out and let your deck cycle back to Annihilate again, basically by healing your creatures with the utility ability. The other ones that are popular with this build are Necromancer and Dimir Assassin, both giving their own advantages. Necromancer giving additional bodies on the field for Annihilate, and then Dimir Assassin because of its movement abilities and basically being able to zip around the battlefield to stay behind your line of creatures. Finally, for traits, we're using the Necromancer level 30, giving a burst for each creature when it dies for 200% of their damage. This is good for both the buffed creature and all of your numerous creatures that'll just be hanging around the battlefield. Little Psychic Prout, just giving more and more 1/1s and 2/2s out there to make stronger and stronger creatures to, again, power Annihilate. The final trait is Open. I preferred Aether Aggression because of how quickly you can actually 1/1 things just by whipping out new eggs and sacrificing the eggs. Interesting interaction here is that if Annihilate is your second sorcery for your eggs, you actually get the new Caryatids after the Annihilate, which is handy because that means that you have more creatures hanging around to kind of keep the combo going. First things first with playing this deck, you want to make sure you're not using any additional loud effects with the deck because it will deafen you. Now beyond that, your basic goal is going to be to activate Thought Cadence as soon as possible, followed by Spawning Bed, and then alternating between sorceries, enchantments, and creatures to hit the 2 sorceries required to cause the eggs to sack themselves, then respawn via Whip, come back out, and then sacrifice them to Annihilate, and then repeat the process over and over. Now, you don't have to Annihilate every time it comes up. You can actually build this up. As soon as you get into the 60 to 70 range, you start one-hitting a lot of mobs on Masters, so that's a pretty good place to aim for. Additionally, at 30, you can have them, which with a team can let you get through the creatures pretty quickly itself. Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. I do stream every day over on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/nerdcoretv, starting at 6:30 a.m. Central, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. If you do like our content, go ahead and give us a like, subscribe, hit the bell to get the latest in gaming. Thank you guys, have a great day, and commit reckless good out there.